I've come to realize something. Most of the pain we carry in silence doesn't come from what others did to us. It comes from the moments we wish we had done differently, the words we never said, the love we didn't give, the risks we were too afraid to take. Regret has a way of whispering when the world goes quiet. It creeps in through the spaces of memory, reminding us of what could have been, what should have been, and what never was. I used to believe that time could heal everything. But the truth is, time doesn't erase regret. It only teaches us how to carry it more gracefully. Some nights, I lie awake replaying the same moments over and over. Conversations that ended too soon. Choices I made out of fear instead of love. I tell myself, you didn't know better back then. But the heart doesn't always listen to reason, because regret isn't logical. It's emotional. It's the heart's way of grieving the life we didn't live. But here's something I've learned through time. Regret is not an enemy. It's an invitation. It invites us to understand ourselves more deeply, to look into the mirror of our past not with judgment, but with compassion. You see, every wrong choice was also a moment of survival. Every mistake was a cry for belonging. Every silence was an attempt to protect our fragile hearts. When I began to see my past self not as a failure, but as a child learning how to love in a confusing world, something inside me softened. Acceptance doesn't erase regret. It transforms it. It takes what was heavy and turns it into something sacred. I've stopped asking, why did I do that? And started asking, what was I needing back then? And in that question, I found healing. Because sometimes, what we call regret is simply the echo of a heart that was doing its best with limited light. Sometimes, when I think about the past, I realize how much time I've spent inside a single phrase. If only. Two of the smallest words in the English language. And yet, they can build a prison so vast, we forget how to leave it. If only I had said something. If only I had stayed. If only I had left sooner. It's strange, isn't it? How the mind keeps replaying scenes that can no longer be changed. Like a movie that ends the same way every time. But we sit there, hoping that this time the ending will be different. I've learned that the past is not cruel, it's just silent. It doesn't respond when we talk to it. We beg it to bend, to shift, to make sense, but the past doesn't speak our language anymore. What it does, quietly, is teach us how to live better now. The if only isn't a punishment, it's a signal. It says, there's wisdom here. Don't miss it. I once met a man who told me about the moment he lost the love of his life. He said, every night for 20 years, I replayed the night she left. I kept wondering, what if I had listened more? What if I had said I'm sorry sooner? He paused, tears in his eyes. It took me 2 decades to realize that what I missed most wasn't her presence. It was the version of myself I never became while she was still here. That stayed with me, because sometimes regret isn't about the person we lost. It's about the self we didn't allow ourselves to be. If you've ever wished to rewrite your story, I want you to remember this. Every if only is your soul longing for growth. It's pointing to something unfinished, a truth that still needs to be seen. So instead of running from it, sit with it. Let it tell you what it came to teach. I remember a letter I once found in a drawer, written years ago but never sent. It was addressed to someone I had hurt unintentionally, but deeply. When I read my own words, I wept. Not because of what I had written, but because of what I hadn't. I'm sorry. I used to think forgiveness required another person's permission. Now I know it begins inside us. In the quiet moment, we stop defending ourselves and start understanding ourselves. Forgiveness doesn't mean rewriting what happened. It means releasing the need to keep reliving it. When I look back now, I see a younger me doing her best with limited light, trying to protect herself, trying to be loved. And maybe that's all any of us are really doing. There's a Japanese concept I love called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they fill them with beauty. I think acceptance is like that. It doesn't erase the breaks. It honors them. It says, yes, I was hurt. Yes, I made mistakes. But those cracks, they're proof I was alive. When I stopped saying, if only I had known, and started saying, "Now that I know, my past stopped haunting me. It started helping me." Regret is memory trying to become wisdom. Acceptance is when it finally succeeds. So tonight, if you find yourself thinking about what could have been, place a hand over your heart and whisper, "I forgive the version of me who didn't know better. I thank the version of me who's learning now." There comes a point in every life when we have to stop running from what already happened. You can only look over your shoulder for so long before the weight of the past starts to bend your spine. For years, I told myself I'd made peace with everything behind me. But peace isn't silence, it's understanding. And I hadn't understood. I was still angry at the choices I made, still replaying conversations that ended wrong, still building imaginary versions of my life where I had done better. One night, I sat alone at my kitchen table and said out loud, "I'm tired of pretending I've moved on," and something in the air shifted. It was like the past had been waiting for me to finally turn around. When we finally face the past, the first thing we meet isn't peace, it's pain. That's okay. Pain is memory's way of asking to be acknowledged. Think of it like a child tugging on your sleeve. It doesn't want punishment. It just wants to be seen. So when those old memories rise, the ones that still sting, instead of saying, "Go away," try whispering, "I see you. I remember. And I'm here now." That single act recognition begins to soften everything. You don't have to fix what happened. You just have to stop hiding from it. I used to avoid my childhood photo albums because they hurt to look at. All those bright eyes, all that possibility. One day I forced myself to open them, page by page. I whispered to that younger self, "You did your best." And the strangest thing happened, I felt forgiven. Forgiveness often starts backwards. We think we need it from others, but the person most desperate for it is usually the one in the mirror. So, if you ever find yourself trapped in old shame, remember, regret points backward, but forgiveness moves forward. You can't walk both ways at once. I remember meeting a woman at a retreat once. She said, "I can't forgive myself for leaving my marriage." I asked her gently, "Were you unkind?" She said, "No, I was just afraid." I smiled and said, "Then maybe it's time to forgive your fear." She cried for an hour, not because of guilt, but because of relief. Sometimes what we call regret is simply grief in disguise. Grief for who we were, for what we lost, for how much we cared. And grief, when honored, turns into gratitude. There's a small ritual I do now whenever old memories surface. I light a candle and say, "This happened." That's all. 3 simple words that turn denial into truth. This happened. It doesn't excuse or erase, it accepts. And every time I say it, the memory loses a little of its power to wound. Pause 0:15. If you're carrying something heavy from your past, maybe tonight you can whisper it too. This happened, and I'm still here. That's the beginning of healing. As we face our past, we begin to see that every version of ourselves was just trying to survive a story they didn't yet understand. The teenager who hid their voice, the young adult who chose comfort over passion, the parent who lost their patience. Each of them deserves kindness. I've learned that acceptance isn't a single moment of peace. It's a lifelong conversation with who you used to be. And the more you listen, the quieter regret becomes. When you meet your past with compassion, it starts to tell you what it was trying to teach all along. The past is not there to trap you. It's there to return you to yourself. Everything you wish you'd done differently is still offering you a chance to live differently now. That's how regret becomes wisdom, one act of honesty at a time. Acceptance is not a single decision. It's a slow unfolding like morning light creeping through the cracks of a dark room. For a long time, I thought acceptance meant approval, that if I accepted what happened, I was saying it was okay. But now I understand acceptance doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means saying, it happened, and I choose peace anyway. That choice doesn't come quickly. It comes in small waves. The first wave feels like surrender, heavy, raw, and unfamiliar. The second feels like quiet understanding. And the third feels like breathing again. There's a story I love about a gardener who lost her entire crop in a storm. When her neighbors came to console her, she smiled softly and said, "The soil needed rest." She didn't deny the loss. She simply trusted that something unseen was still working beneath it. That's what acceptance feels like, trusting the soil of your own life, believing that even after ruin, something new can grow. When I began practicing acceptance, it didn't feel graceful. It felt like failure, like giving up on change. But slowly, I realized acceptance isn't giving up, it's giving in. It's stepping out of resistance and allowing life to meet you where you are. I used to wake up every morning thinking, "Today I'll fix everything." Now I wake up and think, "Today I'll listen." Listening is softer than striving, but it goes deeper. When you listen long enough, life starts to speak through the quiet, and you begin to see that everything you resisted was trying to shape you into who you were meant to become. Acceptance is a conversation, not a conclusion. There are days you'll feel healed, and days you'll feel broken again. Both belong, because healing doesn't erase pain. It teaches you how to carry it kindly. When I accepted that I might never be entirely free of regret, I actually became freer. Because now, when old memories rise, I don't fight them. I just let them pass through me, like wind through open curtains. You can't rush this work. The heart unfolds in its own time. So if you're still struggling, still revisiting the same wound, please know that's not failure. That's healing in motion. There's a prayer I whisper sometimes. May I accept the things I cannot change, and may I change how I hold them. Because sometimes, acceptance isn't about letting go. It's about learning to hold differently, less tightly, more gently. Imagine holding a fragile object, a shell, a feather, a memory. If you grip it, it breaks. If you cup your hand, it rests there, unharmed. That's what acceptance does. It softens the grip of the mind around what the heart can't change. Aging has taught me something I wish I'd known sooner. We spend the first half of life trying to prove we're right, and the second half realizing peace is worth more than being right. The arguments we rehearse in our heads, the people we wish had understood us. Eventually, we see that understanding ourselves is enough. Acceptance begins when you stop trying to be understood and start trying to understand your own soul. There's a calm that settles in the heart once you stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Thank you for showing me." That's not easy gratitude. That's the kind of gratitude born from scars that finally stopped bleeding. Every regret you've carried, every mistake you've made, every heartbreak that broke you open, they've all been polishing you into tenderness. And tenderness is what makes you wise. If you could see yourself the way I see you now, still standing after everything, still open to growth, still capable of love, you'd understand that acceptance isn't weakness. It's quiet courage. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that simply breathes, smiles softly, and says, "I made peace with what I couldn't change." There's a moment after the tears, after the silence, when the heart simply exhales. That's when you know you've begun to heal. Living forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means walking with memory instead of being buried beneath it. It means saying, "Yes, this is part of my story, but it's not the end of it." I used to believe that freedom meant erasing my past. Now I know it means embracing it, holding it with gratitude, because even the painful chapters brought me here. Every time we let go of another layer of regret, something beautiful happens. We make space for joy. Joy doesn't always arrive dancing and loud. Sometimes it just sits quietly beside you. In the warmth of a cup of tea, in the way sunlight rests on your hands, in the laughter that finally feels easy again. Those are the small signs of freedom, the proof that peace has begun to bloom. A friend once told me, "I don't think I'll ever stop missing my mistakes." And I said, "Maybe you're not supposed to. Because missing something doesn't mean you're stuck in it. It means you care deeply about what you've learned." Regret fades when love grows stronger than pain. When you can say, "I did the best I could then, and now I can do better." That's not weakness, that's evolution. Living forward is an act of trust. Trusting that your story is still unfolding. Trusting that new beginnings are waiting in the same places where you once felt endings. trusting that peace can find you even after loss. I often walk near the water at sunset. The waves always remind me of life itself. Constant, rhythmic, never still. Each one rises, breaks, disappears, and begins again. That's what we do too. We begin again, some days with strength, some days with trembling hands. But still, we begin. If you've been waiting for permission to start over, this is it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need the perfect timing. You just need willingness. Life meets you halfway when you take the first step. I think often about the people I've loved and lost, and the person I used to be. For a long time, I thought acceptance meant moving on from them. But now I see it differently. It means carrying them gently, without letting the weight break you. It means saying, "You were part of me, and I'm grateful." That kind of love never leaves. It just changes shape, turning from ache to quiet warmth. As I grow older, I realize that peace doesn't come from fixing life. It comes from being with life, exactly as it is, exactly as we are. There's no perfect ending, no moment where everything suddenly makes sense. There's only presence, the kind that says, "This breath is enough. This moment is enough. I am enough." If regret taught me anything, it's that the heart is incredibly resilient. No matter how many times it breaks, it finds new ways to open. So wherever you are right now, listening in silence, driving home, sitting alone, I hope you remember this. You are not defined by what you've done, but by what you choose to do next. You've survived every ending you thought would break you. And now, look, you're still here, still growing, still becoming. Living forward is not about erasing the past. It's about carrying its wisdom into the present. And when the day comes that you look back and smile instead of ache, you'll know you made peace with your story. You'll know that regret no longer controls you, because you learned how to turn it into grace. I've learned that acceptance is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of peace. May you find that peace in your own time, in your own way, and may you learn to love the life you have now. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. This is Aging with Wisdom. Thank you for listening, for reflecting, and for walking this road of healing with me. Until next time, breathe deeply, forgive freely, and keep living forward.